Hello everyone, welcome once again to Editing Academy. I'm Darryl.
I'm Laura.
And Laura, this is a bit of a different one. We've entered a year
Yes.
where there are now 10 films. So, do you know all of them?
I do not know all of them.
Okay, I'm going to give
Do you have all of them?
I do.
Okay.
Don't read above, just
Okay.
read part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is what we're going to do and talk about today, but Laura's going to read them all off for us.
So the 10 movies that were nominated for Best Picture in 2010 that were released in 2009 are Avatar, The Blind Side, District 9, and Education, and The Hurt Locker that we'll be talking about today. And then next time we'll be talking about Inglorious Bastards, Prescious, A Serious Man, Up, and Up in the Air.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. So other notables that were released that year are one of the Transformers, I think it was Rise of the Fallen, The Men Who Stare at Goats,
Okay.
Twilight New Moon,
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Heart, the Jeff Bridges.
Oh yeah, he got the
he got-
Oscar for that.
He did. The Road,
Okay.
Watchmen, The Informant, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince,
Okay.
The Hangover, Coraline, Star Trek, The Fabulous Mr. Fox, Moon, a little indie with,
Yep.
okay,
I like that.
Terminator Salvation, and Where the Wild Things Are. So out of all of those, including all 10, which ones were in the top 5 for
Okay, I'm gonna hit the easy ones, which are Avatar and Harry Potter, I'm
And-
sure.
Yep, Avatar was number 5. It was
Because it was
released-
so late in the year?
Correct.
Okay. I'll remember that when we do it next year. Okay, so Avatar, Harry Potter, the Transformer movie?
That was number 1, Harry Potter was number 2.
Okay, oh shoot, there was another franchise. I'm gonna go with Up.
Yes, that was number 3.
Okay,
And
it's always a good cartoon. Oh shoot, there was another cartoon in there. What was the other cartoon?
Well, there was Where the Wild Things Are and
Nope.
the Fabulous Mr.
Okay,
Fox.
no, neither of those.
There was, I will give you a hint because
Okay.
you've been doing so well recently.
right.
This was another franchise one.
Star Trek?
No, that was Star
Oh.
Trek was the first.
Okay.
Started it. Twilight New Moon.
Oh, I never actually would have guessed that one. I should have, but I wouldn't have, so I would have missed that one. Thanks, though.
Okay, so we're going to start with Avatar, but before we do, as I occasionally like to do, I like to have kind of a bigger, broader conversation.
Okay.
This one, we'll kind of get to them. Whether a movie belongs in the top category becomes even more relevant now because there are 10.
Agreed.
And I think we both know well enough to know that they expanded to 10 to give more movies more money, essentially.
Well, that and also the Academy Awards broadcast. They wanted people to watch the broadcast, and
Yep.
if people didn't know the movies because they were all obscure indie hits or director hits, then no one's gonna watch.
Right. And we see this year definitely, we went from like your one typical indie film to like 2 or
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with...
One more obscure fact is the Oscar broadcast, the two highest rated were Lord of the Rings, Return of the King year, when it won everything, and Titanic, when it won almost everything.
Makes sense.
And those are movies that almost everybody saw,
Yep.
so that's what they were trying to do as well.
So we'll continually keep coming back to whether or not it should be
Yes.
10. Do all of these actually deserve a nomination, considering some of the others that were mentioned? But let's start with the big one. The first, I think this was the first $1 billion
Yes.
movie
$2 billion, I think.
worldwide.
Yep.
And eventually, because it got overshadowed by one of the Marvel movies, and then.
Stepping on my fun facts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay.
I'll throw it out there. Avatar is it's the biggest grossing movie of all time. It was at the time, but then it got overshadowed by Avengers Endgame, but then Avatar was re-released in China, and so now it's number 1 again.
But was it released in China the first time?
It was re-released in China, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Avatar, written and directed by James Cameron, featured an ensemble cast, but I'll just mention the big ones: Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Stephen Lang, Michael Rodriguez, Sigourney Weaver. Was nominated for pretty much everything: Best Picture, Director, Art Direction, Cinematography, Film Editing, Original Score, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, and Visual Effects. It won for Visual Effects, Cinematography, and Art Direction, all the arty ones, which was to be expected. You already said some facts, you have more.
first the summary.
Oh, yes.
Is a paraplegic Marine dispatched to the moon Pandora on a unique mission becomes torn between following his orders and protecting the world he feels is his home. So, yeah, it's fine. There's a couple of fun facts. I think most people know the fun facts about this movie, but this one was new to me. Did you know that Sigourney Weaver's cigarettes were CGI?
I did actually.
I did not know that. That blew me away.
Yeah, I did actually. I remember her having a conversation like she was a smoker and then she quit and she didn't want to do it again or something like that. Don't quote me on
Yeah,
it.
no, it makes sense, but it was bizarre. That's just was strange.
Yeah,
when I
like
went
with
back
all
and
of the
look-
things,
Yeah,
like the
with all
cigarette.
of the stuff that they were doing. It's like, oh, and also the cigarettes.
And because also at this particular point in time, they had so many good fake cigarettes.
Yes, exactly. So strange.
All right, so I'm going to start off kind of hot and heavy with this one.
All right.
Avatar was not filmed in, but was the first movie to be released in a long time in 3D. I saw it in the theater in 3D, and it was gorgeous. This film is meant to be seen in 3D. Unfortunately, I don't have 3D glasses at home, so I had to watch it like just normal. And the first thing I will say is, if you just watch it as a normal movie, it does not have the same experience, and I don't think the story and the way the story is told is strong enough to hold up as it would that first time experiencing it. That's where I'm going to start.
So I think the story, and I'll talk about this later, but it's Dances with Wolves.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that's a
it's
comparison
almost
to me.
entirely that same story. It is, I agree with you, that is a gorgeous movie. I remember watching it in the day in the theater. I can't remember if I watched it in 3D. I probably would have remembered that, so I'm guessing I didn't. And I remember at the moment, I loved it. I thought it was really impressive, an incredible achievement. And when I went to go rewatch it, because I've never seen it since, for this conversation, I couldn't tell you a thing about the story. I couldn't remember anything about the story.
So that's my biggest criticism of this movie. Acknowledge a couple things with James Cameron. He is a wonderful director. He knows how to tell a story, the pacing of a story, the beats that a movie needs to hit to keep you engaged in the telling of that story. And he has had some of the biggest movies ever. Like I think he's probably the most, out of all the directors, he's the one that's made the most money just because, and his thing is he likes to completely continue to innovate the technology involved when making a movie. So he's fantastic for the industry. Not a great writer.
A terrible writer. The dialogue is so stilted, and the characters could be wearing white and black hats. I mean, as far as like the colonel there, he is just like, I am a bad guy, and I have no redeeming qualities. There's nothing great about me whatsoever.
One of the things that we've talked about this before, when it comes to the actual storytelling, nuance is very important. Getting hit over the head with things, while sometimes that can work because it's intended for comedic effect or that is the point of what they're trying to make. When you're telling a story this big and this lush, nuance is important. You need to have character motivations that are not just hitting you over the head with things. And this movie has none of that.
This movie to me is style over substance.
Yes.
It is gorgeous. I love one of the first scenes when he comes in and the funnel type flowers that he touches and they fold in on themselves and that whole field, and then there's this giant scary monster behind it. Like that is such a cool scene, and it also shows him like with the wonder of the place that he's going to, exploring, and then you see something gorgeous and something dangerous, and you get a lot out of that little bitty scene. But that was not enough for me for a best film.
The part of, I think, why this movie was so successful, obviously the visuals were what carried this film through. But also, for a worldwide success movie, it does have to be accessible to a lot of people. So the dumbing down of the story, the retelling of a story we've seen 1,000 times before and not adding or taking away a lot and really changing the nature of that story, I think added to its success. Because going in very quickly, it is an old school Western. These are the bad guys, these are the good guys. And you know as an audience member the journey you're going to go on. While you may see things here and there, you know who to root for, you know who to root against.
Absolutely.
And so the experience of that is fine, but ultimately forgettable. And I
Yes.
think that is why this movie was so successful financially, is because it adhered to that middle of the road, we're not gonna deviate, tell you the
Yep.
story you know already, with a lot of cool effects.
Very cool visuals, exactly. It was interesting to me though, because I know that people have talked about the performances of the main cast, and Zoe Saldana just did something different. She really did embody the emotions of that the Navi. I don't know how she did it, but the rest of them were a little bit more flat than
Yeah.
she was, and she really did come across as so much more three-dimensional.
Yeah, I agree, and, I mean, this, she's obviously played a lot of different colored characters.
Yep.
She's been blue, she's been green.
Yes, yes.
And so she's very used to being able to allow herself to go over and into something. I think this was
She
the
can work with the CGI
first-
better.
Yeah, I think this was the first time she did it, but she was also young and hungry and nobody really knew. She'd been acting, but no one really knew who she was
Yeah.
at that point. So I think she gave it her all more than a lot of the other people because she wanted it and wanted that recognition. She was
Yeah.
just hungry for it, I think, a little bit more. I have seen arguments that this film is deeper than a lot of people realize, and then like the actual essays that are, when you look at it like this
Yeah.
and you take this, I'm like, sure, if you really, really want to play English major.
It's the Lorax meets Dances with
Yes.
Wolves. That's what it is. That
Yeah.
is the entire story.
I speak for the trees, then I
Yes.
speak for the trees.
They absolutely do, and that's great. And yes, I'm sure there was a lot of spirituality there, and the dances that they were doing, especially when they were trying to kind of join, when Sigourney Weaver was dying, they were trying to join her body to her soul. Like,
Yep.
I'm sure there's a lot of spirituality there that may be true to some indigenous tribes that I'm not aware of. But is James Cameron aware of that, or was he just?
Was it appropriation?
Yeah,
or-
well, you asked the question, but yes, there's a lot to that, was it by accident or was it intentional?
Right. He is good at building a world and having you
Yes.
inhabit that world. His world building is really good. It's, again, we just go to the nuance of storytelling that is not his forte at all. And I think ultimately, the experience of this 3D, you see it once, fantastic, and then you don't ever have to see it again because you
Yeah.
had that experience, you check that box.
Well, and when you say the world building, I did go into a little bit of a rabbit hole about the linguistics of the language, that he hired a linguist to create the Navi language.
Sure.
And basically, he had all these rules around it, like it had to be something that a human tongue could
Sure.
actually speak without kind of strange sounds and noises that would feel weird. And so they had somebody on it like full time, just creating this language, and it could not sound like any other human language.
Right.
So he does go to a ton of detail, but does it make the story better?
Yes, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is a forgettable movie, that the experience of seeing it the first time, particularly in 3D, is a really good one. I'm happy I did that the first time.
Yeah.
I even did it with the second one in 3D because I knew it was going to be a visual feast. But after that, no, I'm good.
I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad for all the movies that came after it because of the technology I'm sure he
Yes.
created for this movie.
Yep.
Yep, agree.
All right, let's move on to a problematic movie by a lot of people. The Blind Side. Blind Side, written and directed by John Lee Hancock, based on the 2006 book of the same name by Michael Lewis, starring Sandra Bullock, Tim McGraw, Quentin Aaron, and Kathy Bates. Was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress. Sandra did win for Best Actress. Go with some stuff.
All right, so the summary is it's the story of Michael Orr, a homeless and traumatized boy who became an All-American football player and first-round NFL draft pick with help of a caring woman and her family. I think
Accurate.
that's the stories,
Yeah.
So first of all, interestingly enough, it's Netflix's most rented DVD of all time.
That does not surprise me.
With everybody that it probably appeals to. And SJ is currently the Assistant Athletics Director for Football at the University of Central Florida.
The real life
The
character.
real life character. I was curious
Right.
as to what happened to them. And then for the fun fact, I was going to go in a little bit to the problematic area and kind of how I approached the film. So I'm just going to start with the real Michael Orr has since sued with the Toohey family for profiting off of his story and likeness. So there's a lot more problems in there, but the big one is that he says this does not really reflect his life, and he feels that he was taken advantage of. And so I will tell you, I approached the movie putting that on a shelf, just as we do for Woody Allen and for all the other
Yep.
things of, I looked at this as a fictional story because apparently it was quite fictional. So I looked at it as, do I enjoy this story? Is it a good film? And all of those kind of things. And I'm going to tell you that I really like this movie, and I know it's problematic, and I know it's not a good movie, but I enjoy the time I spent with Sandra Bullock and the Toohey family. I look at it as one of those movies that it is wildly problematic, and I've got a whole list of things, but I think it's enjoyable and fun and would have made a great Hallmark movie.
And I'm going to agree with everything you said and add on. I really enjoy sitting down and going through the experience of watching this film.
Yes.
The only way I can do that is by knowing and recognizing that the story I am watching is not the real life story of what happened.
Exactly.
Michael was not a silent, mute, kind of dumb person by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope. He was a football player when they met him.
Correct. He already had achieved his chops. He was on the rise to stardom already.
Yes.
What was he living in a problematic situation? Yes, but not nearly as blown up as the film makes it. And if you can set that aside, like you would if you're reading H.P. Lovecraft, horrible racist person, great stories. You pick your genre. There's always going to be one that the stories themselves are enjoyable to experience, but the person telling that story is not necessarily. You separate the artist from the art.
Exactly. And which I did, and I enjoyed it. But even within the movie, there's a lot of problems with the movie in that it is another white savior movie. It is huge cultural appropriations. Again, you've got the little kid in the headdress, at Thanksgiving, not great. And everyone who is not white is either a thug or a drug dealer.
Yep.
And that's all incredibly problematic. And I put it on the shelf of, I love Sandra Bullock, and I think her performance in this was fantastic.
And I, again, agree with everything. So I read years ago that someone did like a video essay on this movie who was a former Christian and basically called this Christian porn.
Yes.
And then went into a very lengthy diatribe of why. And then this time, that was in the back of my head when I watched this movie. And if you watch this movie as Christian porn, meaning this is an example of what Christians really want to be able to do in the world.
And they think they are doing.
Correct. They're trying to help somebody. And in her estimation and portrayal in this movie, that is exactly what she's doing. She is helping, she is not hurting, she's not oftentimes even understanding. She gets angry when her friends are like, but you have a black man just down the hall from your daughter. Doesn't that scare you? And she's like, how racist of you. I mean, essentially that's what she says.
It is. Yeah. She's doing missionary work, so to speak. Yeah.
And if you look at it in that very specific lens, I think this film works on every single level. Because it is a bunch of privileged white Christian people trying to do what they believe is good for someone who is not them. And everybody else who is non-Christian and non-white is not them. So of course, every portrayal of black people is not going to be a positive one, because that's the view. And if you accept that, then this movie, you can just slide through and enjoy the performances and the story.
I would. The only addition I would make to that is it's white Christian porn.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Yep.
Not black Christian porn or anything. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for that. So, you and I are both the kind of people that doesn't really work for us in real life.
Not today. I don't know that it didn't in 2010,
But
being honest.
We can separate the problematic and still point out the problematic and still enjoy a good, well-told story for what the story itself is trying to do. Is this ultimately, in my estimation, a good movie that everybody should go out and watch? Are there lessons to be learned here? Fuck no. But it is a good, well-crafted story for what it is attempting to do, with a singular performance that is standout. And even the second, like, the kids are fine. Tim McGraw is fine.
I thought he was terrific. Actually, I mean, Tim McGraw is up there with 2 Oscar winners. He's working off Kathy Bates and Sandra Bullock, and I think he holds his own. I thought he did a really good job.
I think also the light that they cast him in was an easy one probably for him to play, like the goofy dad.
The goofy dad is like, oh, my wife runs the whole show. Look at my wife go. I'm so proud of her. Yeah.
So that is the thing, and I'm not defending this movie, but I am saying there is a path where you can enjoy this movie for what the movie actually is. And if you don't like it, if you just view it as nothing but a false white savior movie, I understand that. I get it.
Completely.
That's your view. I agree with that as a view, but I can still go through the movie and watch the movie and enjoy the movie for the very narrow kind of story this movie is telling.
Exactly. It is telling a story of a person who is adopted into a family and leads a better life because of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And and I do. But that said, I judge myself a little bit because I do.
Sure.
So
The only other thing that I really want to say, that's the big thing I wanted to say, and I'm glad you brought it up so we could have that conversation. The only other thing I really want to talk about, and we can do it briefly or as in depth as you want, is her performance.
okay.
Because she is amazing in this movie.
She absolutely transforms herself from anyone we've seen her as before.
Yes, and she 100% embodies the character. She is no nonsense. She takes no shit from anybody. If you're going to mess with the family, you are going to be in trouble.
Yep.
Those that she cares for, she is going to defend to the nth degree.
Mm-hmm.
And the embodiment that she has in being able to do that without coming across as mean or dictatorial. Like, she plays a fine line of a mother taking care of her cubs.
Yes.
Not a mean person who is, she could have played this mean, spiteful. She could have played this 1,000 different ways, and she just played it protective. And I thought that was a very wise choice on her part to navigate this very tricky thing.
And she did. You're absolutely right. Yep. I completely agree with you.
That was the only other thing I wanted to say is just, you can't not watch this movie and not really watch an amazing performance. Again, whether you like the movie or not, you are watching an amazing performance.
It is a best actress performance.
100%.
Yep, I absolutely agree with all of that.
Okay, so we move away from Blindside
All
into
right.
District 9.
Go for it.
Excuse me. The light is still blinking, yes?
Yes.
District 9, directed by Neil Blomkamp in his feature film debut, written by himself and Terry Tatchell, produced by Peter Jackson and Carolyn Cunningham. It's also a co-production of New Zealand, the United States, and South Africa. They all came together. The film stars Sharlto Copley, Jason Cope, David James, and was adapted from Blomkamp's 2005 short film Alive in Joburg. And it was nominated for Picture, Adapted Screenplay, Editing, Visual Effects. Did not win anything. Go with some facts.
All right. The summary is, in a future Earth in which aliens are isolated in a remote ghetto, a government agent finds himself banished there.
Fair.
Okay. So a couple of interesting fun facts. So I think this is pretty clearly an allegory, but the title hits even harder because there really was a place and an event, District 6 in South Africa, that was a mixed race neighborhood of Cape Town, where the apartheid government demolished in 1966 to make room for white people.
Yep.
So it's, I think I didn't know that until I was doing the research, and like, okay, well, I got the allegory anyway, but that sure does kind of make it go home. And also, this film and Avatar were the first science fiction movies nominated for Best Picture since E.T. in the 80s.
Wow, I didn't
So-
even think of that, and we've done all of them.
Yep.
That is 100% true.
Because this is not the normal path of this type of movie to
No.
Best Picture nomination.
No,
So
not at all.
I was a little bit surprised, though. Those are, the only other fun fact is the clicking sounds of the aliens were made by rubbing a pumpkin. Which I had a pumpkin at home because it's pumpkin season and I couldn't make that noise. So I don't know
You
what.
tried that?
I did try, yeah. It did make the clicking sound.
All right, so one of the things that I grew up reading science fiction, my dad got me into it, and one of the things that I've always loved about sci-fi is sci-fi gets a very easy pass for talking about difficult, complex things, because they're setting it in an environment where it might be very apparent what they're talking about, as in this movie, but because it's quote-unquote science fiction, a lot of times it gets a pass, and they can get away with a lot of things that would be hyper-criticized if it was just another film.
Yeah.
So the avenue and path to talk about difficult, complex things that do require nuance in a conversation, sci-fi can get away with. So I've always appreciated that. This film, as you mentioned, not an exception to that.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick, it's pretty early on, very quickly you understand what is happening. And I appreciate that they never shied away from the allegory they were attempting to talk about.
Mhm.
They embodied all of the things that District 6 apparently was supposed to have, and just basically used that as the blueprint to tell this very singular story of a guy going through.
Right.
I personally, the first time I saw this, was blown away because it seems like such a low budget and such a high budget at the same time.
Mhm.
It starts out with basically, the found footage or the interview style. We're following you through, and then if you notice, very slowly that goes away.
Yes.
So that there is no longer that after like the first third of the movie, and then
Yep.
it just becomes a straightforward tale where you're following.
Yep.
And I like that they were able to do that, and that it takes you a moment to recognize, oh, we've switched.
Okay, can I jump in? Because
Yeah.
that's the part I hated.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I had not seen this before, and so it hooked me at go with that mock documentary, and I knew what was happening, and I could tell immediately when they switched into the film, and it lost me a little bit.
Really?
Because I really liked the framing technique of it,
Yep.
and then when they went to the straight film, I'm like, oh, I just didn't care for the transformation.
So you knew the moment that it
Yeah.
happened? Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't. The first time myself did not, and it took a couple of minutes to recognize it. I can see that if you are hooked by one film
Yeah.
style, and then they switch
They
film
like
styles.
abandoned the structure that they had started with,
Yep.
which was a choice, and to some it was probably the right choice. For me, it lost me a little bit.
Okay. I can see that, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. For me, it was not a big deal. I thought it was kind of clever to be able to
Because
do
they bring it
that.
back at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why they ended up bookending it instead of kind of carrying it on through.
No, I totally can see that. I can. And that has been a commentary by a lot of people, is like, when did it switch? Why did it switch? What was the choice of doing that? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, if you didn't notice, it didn't.
Yeah. Well, and I did say, like in my notes here, it's talking about they went from the mock documentary, then they abandoned that structure for the rest of the movie until the end, but then it turned into a high quality sci-fi film.
Yes.
So there's nothing problematic about, like, it was a good film, but it was abrupt for me.
Yep, I can totally see
Mhm.
that. So let's talk about that. For particularly 2009, the
Mhm.
effects that they had were amazing. Some were practical,
Absolutely.
a lot were CGI, and kind of low budget CGI from what I understand.
Mhm.
I mean, it is Peter Jackson coming off of The Lord of the Rings, so he was using weather for a lot of it. But the effects were amazing, and I still think they hold up very, very well today,
Agreed.
because they weren't big things, they were
Mhm.
small things.
Yeah.
They were like a gun going off or the hand or whatever. Like, they were not massive scenes that would now look a little dated. They were just small things here and there throughout to kind of help push that forward.
Yeah, the part I liked the best was the transformation of Wilkes, both physical and
Yep.
kind of emotionally, and how he demonstrated himself. So I thought his transformation, both how they demonstrated it, was, those sci-fi, those especially the hand was really amazing. It was him, but it was the pincher hand.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's an overt metaphor. He's literally transforming
Yeah.
into an alien, and that is the only way where he can come to understand them, because in the beginning he does not like them. He's
At all.
very racist towards them. And by transforming into one, then he can start to understand the problems and issues, etc., so he can identify, and his worldview changes.
And he's kind of like an office geek,
Yeah.
He's a pencil pusher.
He is.
He is really just there because his father-in-law has given him a job that is outside of his skill set. That his father-in-law elevated into a role that he wasn't ready for.
Yep. This is a film to me that you can spend a lot of time analyzing to get deep into the metaphor and the allegory if you wish, or you can just kind of watch it as a nice little adventure, escape from everybody kind of tale, and just enjoy it on that level. I think it works in both ways. If you want to devote the time, you can, but you don't have to have this film be enjoyable.
No, I agree with that. I did like the underlying story.
Yeah.
I really, first of all, I think that it went incredibly well and was well plotted, but the underlying story and the story of, replace the word aliens with refugees.
Yep.
And how they are treated and how they are seen by society. It was well done.
So the only other thing I want to talk about, we can talk about obviously anything else that you want, but the end, it's a cliffhanger ending.
Mhm.
Like, coming back in 3 years, and apparently they were and had started to write the sequel for it even
Oh.
before the filming of this, because they had the idea of what would happen next. everybody clamored for it, but the director went on and did 2 massive flops in a row.
Oh, okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, Elysium, and I can't remember the other one. Elysium was another sci-fi one with Matt Damon, and then I can't remember the other one. But anyway, both of them flopped magically.
That's too bad.
So did the end work for you being such a cliffhanger, or did you want more of a resolution of like everything's either bad or good at this point?
No, I thought it was perfect. I thought it was because I think that there is no magic resolution, and it didn't resolve his story because his story isn't going to resolve. Like,
Yep.
he's out there, there's enough of him that he remembers his wife and he wants to bring her gifts and all of those things. They are off. Will they be coming back in 3 years? Who knows? I think that these stories, that it's the underlying story that they're telling, don't end. You know, there is no happy ending or sad ending. It just, these things go on.
One of the interesting choices I thought, and again, we know this was based on real life events, but to make the aliens essentially like worker class, they're not super high up.
Yes, yeah.
They're
I like
just
that.
the average working people, which, you know, they got stranded. This was not supposed to happen. This was
Right.
an accident. So now, you know, they're coming back in 3 years with all the other people that are going to be, how's that going to go? But I like that as a choice, that these were, like, a lot of times in movies, it's important people that are going through the things that are going. And in this one, none of these people are important. I mean,
No.
every individual, of course, is an important
I know,
person.
right. But
but-
to their society.
Correct. They're just
Yeah.
average people. They don't have a lot of influence. They don't have a lot of things that they can do or say.
Yeah.
And I like that was the setting by which this entire story is told, because I think it lends itself to the story.
Well, and even at the beginning of the story, when we originally board the ship, it's a very violent boarding.
Yeah.
So it's us pushing our way in, and then there's a whole bunch of people that are hurt and dying and emaciated, and they try to help. So you have to believe that at the beginning there was some altruism and there was some wanting to help, but it just got reversed somehow, or yeah,
The last
as good intentions sometimes do.
Sure. The last thing I'll say is, again, this, because it shows and just reinforces how easily, we'll just call it Earth society, can adapt to something new, and how quickly that can just be the thing.
Yep.
I think it also helped for worldwide that they were centrally located, so it wasn't like, I don't know if you ever saw V for Vendetta.
Oh,
where
I
they-
loved that, yeah.
So,
Oh, wait, no, I saw V, like the miniseries when we were kids.
oh yeah, no, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about, not
okay,
V
yeah.
for Vendetta, sorry. Yeah, V, where like aliens are everywhere.
Yeah.
That's not this movie, they're sequestered, so
Right.
it's easy
They're
to kind of put them
just
out of
in
your
South
head when
Africa.
they're just like in a small little section in South Africa.
Right, but the world is looking and the world is watching, and they know that.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love when small movies stick to a particular premise and execute that incredibly well and don't try to take on too much, which is exactly what this film did.
And it doesn't feel like a small movie.
Yes.
So I like that as well. Agreed.
Okay, moving on to An Education.
Mm-hmm.
This is based on a memoir by journalist Lynn Barber. The film was directed by Lone Scherfig, I hope I pronounced that correctly, from a screenplay by Nick Hornby, and stars Carey Mulligan, Peter Skarsgård, Alfred Molina, Rosamund Pike, Dominic Cooper, Olivia Williams, Emma Thompson. Was nominated for Picture, Best Actress for Mulligan, and Screenplay for Hornby. Did not win anything. So go.
All right, the summary is a coming-of-age story about a teenage girl in the 1960s suburban London and how her life changes with the arrival of a playboy nearly twice her age. Fun facts, I'm going to stick to the friends, the Dominic Cooper and Rosamund Pike.
Okay.
So Dominic Cooper part was originally given to Orlando Bloom, and he had to back out. I think he would have done fine.
Yeah.
I could see either one of those, but I love Dominic Cooper. And Rosamund Pike was actually kind of at the height of people going after her, and it's a very small part. She wanted it because she said they never let her laugh. She never gets a part where she gets to laugh and be funny, and so she wanted this role. And also Nick Hornby is just one of my favorite authors, so I was really excited to revisit
We've talked about
this.
him a couple times before.
Yeah, love him.
All right, so with this one, like in Blindside, I think we have to address the creepy factor right away and kind of move past that.
Oh, see, I think the creepy part is part of the movie.
I agree,
Oh, yeah.
but that's what I wanted
This
to
is
say.
intentionally creepy instead of not meaning to be creepy.
Yes, But I wanted to address that because a lot of people can't get beyond, like, that barrier goes up of like a man in his mid-20s or however
Yeah.
old, we don't know exactly how old he is,
Mhm.
but however old he is going after a 16-year-old
Yes.
girl in high school. Different time,
Totally different time.
sure, but still not ideal.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
we just wanted to address
Yes.
that. But then I agree with you that that is an inherent part of this story and
Yes.
intentional, primarily because, and I think when I was going through the comments, I think a lot of people forget this is her story,
It happened.
not a big story. We're not
Right.
watching all of these people. This is 100% her story.
Exactly.
So everything that is happening is from her perspective, even though it's not like point of view.
Right, exactly. So I've seen this movie a couple of times. When I first watched it, I remember, because when he first picks her up at the bus stop, that's a creepy moment. She is such a schoolgirl. She looks her age.
Yes.
She looks very young. He looks much older. And I remember watching this thinking, is this gonna be a love story? Because I'm weirded out if this is a love story. And it's not. This is not a love story.
No.
And so I love that they leaned into the creepy here. Whereas, again, The Blind Side, all the problematic things were not intentional. This is intentionally creepy and problematic, and again, a different time. And I have some things to say about that too, but I loved that he was creepy, we knew he was creepy, and it ended with him not being the love interest.
I agree with all of that.
Mhm.
Plus, I saw a lot, and I'd already asked this question and then immediately was like, oh, I understand totally why. But a lot of people ask, like, how could she fall for this? Well, an older charismatic guy to a 16, 17-year-old girl who
Mhm.
wants more out of life than just going to school and reading books.
Yes.
She wants to experience life. This person allowed her to do that,
Yes.
brought her to all of the places she wanted to go. Paris, to see art, to see jazz, like all of the things she talks about in the beginning, he gives her. So
Right.
it's very easy to understand why she would continue to go and do these things without question.
Exactly, and also the other thing too, I think people forget about like why the parents were so okay with it, is first of all, the mom was all flattered and giggly and that's fine. The father was pushing her to go to Oxford, pushing her to go to Oxford. The reason why is because he wanted her to meet a good man that
Yes.
she could then marry. So
Yes.
this was a means to an end. Getting an Oxford education was not what his goal was. His goal was you go meet the right quality of people,
Yeah.
you're in the right quality of society, and you have a good life being a Mrs. to one of those folks that you meet through those society connections. So to him, like, the education isn't what you need. It is the connections. You've got them already. You got the ring on your finger. You win.
Yep. And a lot of people, I agree with you, they do forget that. The dad was not trying to educate and well-round
Yeah.
his daughter to make her a better person.
Yep.
He was doing all of this so that she would get into a school where the quality of men would be much higher.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
And you discovered that pretty quickly, and because in the beginning, he seems kind of dictatorial.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, if I can understand and I'll buy it if you're doing this to make your daughter better at these things. And then once you realize, no, that's not the intent, he falls falls very low in my estimation. He goes from being an okay person to being like, seriously, dude? But again, gotta understand the times.
Yeah, I thought he was just normal for the times. I think
I
that
agree,
he
but
was.
I don't like it.
But I get it, but I thought he was actually a really good dad because he was trying to get, first of all, I think he felt very inferior, which is why
Sure, yes.
he was so overwhelmed when David could come and put on these airs and he wanted to be David. I think that's one of the pieces, but also he wanted the best for his daughter.
Yep.
And in 1960 society, the best you could do is marry well.
Yeah.
So he wanted the best for her. So he didn't fall in my estimation as much as he saw the reality of his mistake.
I guess I kind of projected onto him, once I realized what the motivation was, I then projected onto him my feelings of like, your motivation is not good, dude.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
me projecting.
But I do love, because you asked before about the titles of movies,
Yep.
and education is perfect.
I agree.
Because it is twofold. It is the education she got from this love affair, and it is the education that she seeks to truly better herself.
I agree, and I was gonna bring that up as
Yeah.
well. Like, out of all of the ones in this, and when we get to the Hurt Locker, we can talk about that as well, but I think this is the most aptly named for what is
Yes.
happening in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that David was perfectly played. He was just the right amount of charming. He definitely had the smarmy part that you could see to him that was gonna come up later.
Yep.
He was very weak, but also
Cowardly.
so cowardly. But also you could see why a 16, 17-year-old girl would fall for him.
Yep. The scene where she goes to the house and you see his wife with the child.
Awful.
And then, I didn't catch it the first time, this is only the second time I've seen it, but I definitely caught it this time. When she pauses, she recognizes who this person is and why she's there, but she pauses and goes, "Oh, you're just a child." Like, maybe this was the first time he'd gone for somebody this young,
Yeah, I
because
know.
clearly we understand now that this is a pattern for him.
Yes.
But this was the first time he went for somebody so young, or at least that she was aware that he'd gone for somebody so young.
Probably.
Because that statement is her kind of recognizing, understanding, and also, it's not shock, it's just like, oh, and like, he's going for younger now.
It's disappointment. It's here we are again. Yeah. And also the statement around basically, at least you're not knocked up.
Yes.
That's horrible too. Yeah.
Yep, because that's happened before.
That's happened before, apparently. I loved the friends. I thought they were so well played, and they were the bad guys, I think, in my mind, because they knew exactly what was going to happen to her and what was happening, and that was just their friend David.
The male friend, who I don't remember the character's name, he does at a couple points point out to
Yeah.
him, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But he doesn't do anything about it. He's just talking to his friend, like his friend is going through something, not that his friend is doing something horrible.
Exactly. You can tell that he feels bad, and that
Yeah.
he might even have feelings for her himself. I think that kind of shows a little bit, that he's kind of intrigued by her as well, but not enough to do anything about it. And
Yeah.
Rosamund Pike is just the girl that these men are my entree into this world, and she is using them as much as they are using her.
Yep.
I think she is on to the story.
It took me a little while, because initially when you meet her and Carrie's character meets her, she appears to be kind of like secondhand talking down to her. But then I came to realize that she's not. That's just how she speaks.
Yeah.
What is on her mind in the moment is what she says. She doesn't give a lot of thoughts to things. She
Yeah.
just speaks. So it took a little bit, because at first she kind of comes across as a bitch, but then no, that's just there's no ill intent in her language.
And also, this girl is not going to be in her life for long.
Yeah,
I don't think
she kind of realizes that.
I think she is just like, oh, he's picked up somebody else.
That's true, because when they show the ring, she is genuinely initially shocked and surprised, but then hides it very,
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah,
Okay, I can see that.
yeah, because they know he can't get married.
Yep. Yeah, so David, and ultimately he proves how cowardly, he's very narcissistic, but proves how cowardly he actually is. Like, he gives a throwaway line, well, I can leave, I will divorce her. But that's just something he's saying,
Oh, yeah.
not something he's ever going to follow through with.
He won't even get out of the car to talk to her parents.
Yeah.
That's just horrible.
Yeah, he's just a coward.
I can't let the movie go though without also talking about Emma Thompson and the
So
woman
brief.
the woman who's played her teacher.
Yeah.
Because again, I think she was only on set for a day, they said. But so brief, but also so critical and so important.
Yeah.
And basically they were like, they've seen it before, they've seen it again. The woman who goes for the MRS instead of the actual degree. And I just thought that they played that really well, and I was so glad that the teacher did not hold it against her. She was like, you learned something. You had to go through this to get to the place that you're at.
And I know it was important, and apparently probably true, that the headmistress, or whatever her title was, Emma's character,
Yeah.
did not allow her back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, but still I was like, you know that you're ruining this girl's life. She's done it, but you can
Yeah.
help,
Mm-hmm.
and you're choosing not to. again, I know different time, but I was like, you could do something here.
She absolutely could have, and I think she had to have, because how else could she have gotten into Oxford? I think the teacher spoke up for her. This is one of those things that we don't know what really happened to get her into Oxford. Did the teacher speak to the headmistress and get her back into school? So we don't really know what
Sure.
happened. But I think the headmistress had to have those rules because she had to set an example for the other girls, that this was not a path to take.
That's probably true. I just didn't like that.
I know.
As a
It's
child.
1960s.
I know.
I know. It was a bad time. Whereas today is such a better time for women. Oh wait, no it's not.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes it is. You're all still barefoot and pregnant.
So for my con on this, I do like the little pro, I do the cons. I'm ignoring you by the way.
That's okay.
Con, no notes. I've got no notes.
Really?
I just thoroughly enjoy this movie, and I don't know how they would do it differently or better.
I think a lot of times with particularly the Best Picture nominees that we've seen before, there's usually a very large star to help and give you a great performance in that movie.
Yeah,
None of these people at this moment when the
No.
film was out were stars.
right.
Um,
Alfred Molina was probably the best known actor, was very well regarded.
yes,
Yeah,
but more of a character actor
Yeah.
at that point.
totally.
Like
Sharon Mulligan was
Chocolat and things.
amazing.
But everybody else was kind of on their rise.
Yes.
And so that I think this is just a confluence of really good, talented people that we see later go on to do things, all coming together. And I'm surprised that the movie did as well as it did, because there is no real star
Yeah.
in this movie. And
Yeah.
I like that. That's
I
a
agree.
positive for me.
Yep, totally agree.
Okay, lastly, The Hurt Locker.
All right.
Directed by Catherine Bigelow, written by Mark Bowl, stars Jeremy Renner, Anthony Mackie, Brian Garrity, Christian Camargo, Ralph Fiennes, David Morse, and Guy Pearce, although he's only in it for a very short period of time. Nominated for Best Picture, Director, Actor, Screenplay, Cinematography, Film Editing, Original Score, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, won for Sound Mixing, Sound Editing, Film Editing, Original Screenplay, and Bigelow won her first Oscar, I think her only,
Her only.
for Director, and it did win for Best Picture. Go with some facts.
I think she was the only female director to win until Nomadland. So now there's two. So the Hurt
Progress.
Yay! The Hurt Locker. So summary. During the Iraq War, a sergeant recently assigned to an army bomb squad is put at odds with his squad mates due to his maverick way of handling his work.
Fair.
Sure. So the Hurt Locker is I had to look it up because I didn't know what it was. It's military slang for pain or trouble. So if you're in a terrible event, it can send you to the Hurt Locker. So like emotionally.
Got it.
Which I think is a really interesting title for this. So we'll talk about that. But also, until Anora last year, this is the lowest grossing Best Picture winner ever. And it was interesting because it was running against the highest grossing picture ever,
Yep.
Avatar.
Yeah.
So very, very, very few people saw this at the time.
I know I didn't see it in the theater. It was definitely after. Probably.
I think I got like the Netflix DVD of it back in the day when you got those.
That
Yes,
might be true.
We are old.
Okay, so before we kind of dive into this one, I did want to pause and have another kind of conversation,
Okay.
because often in criticism of films, I see that it's not accurate, it's not accurate, it's not accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand if you are depicting someone's life and the events of their life, if that as a criticism, well, that actually never happened, they just invented that, or, a film that goes way off the rails like The Blind Side that does not give you a lot of the factual events of what actually happened in manufacturing a lot. However, I wanted to have the conversation about what your thoughts are on the accuracy of portrayal. And I'll give you a very easy example of what I'm talking about. This film gets criticized because it did not accurately portray a lot of the things that were actually happening at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
Military folks have been split. Some come forward and be like, it's totally accurate, it captures the emotions.
Mhm.
Others were like, it's not accurate, we don't do it that way. Then you watch a film like Aliens, which is completely 100% made up with a bunch of soldiers going into battle against something, but that movie captures very well the intimacy of what it's like to
Right.
be in battle with comrades. That's 100% manufactured, but both have similar emotions to them. So what are your thoughts on how accurate something really needs to be?
Okay, so I'm going to posit that neither of us can actually, with any ability tell whether this is an accurate movie, whether this is an
I'm just
accurate
going by
portrayal.
comments.
Yeah, I think that, my comment was, it appeared to be disturbingly real.
Yeah,
So
to me as well.
I thought it was. I don't know, I'm not in the military, I have military folks in my family, but I have no idea what it is like to be in that situation.
Yep.
I know that I felt like I knew what it was like.
Okay.
And I was able to transport myself into that time and place. And to me, you could feel the heat, you could feel, I said, you could feel the sense of place, the heat, the danger, the intensity of what they were doing. And so to me, it was disturbingly real. Whether or not it was accurate or not, I sure did feel like it was.
To me, the getting everything down to the smallest detail accuracy does not matter. It's more, just like you said, does it make me feel what it's supposed to make me feel? Is the emotional accuracy, is that correct? Then I'm in. And just because maybe, you know, they were wearing a piece of clothing that was actually 5 or 10 years out of date, I don't care about that in a story that I'm being told. If it was a documentary or something that where the information is supposed to be 100% real, then I would care. In a story, I don't.
I watched the movie The Memphis Belle with my brother-in-law, who could not handle watching it because all of the medals were on wrong and the hats were wrong and they were saluting the wrong people and the tanks were in the wrong place, and I'm just like, you were taking the fun out of this, man.
But I
Sorry,
mean,
Paul.
and I can see particularly to someone military, having the
Yes.
medals not be correct, that would be something that would absolutely take
Yes.
you out of it. But as an average person, getting everything so accurate is not as important to me as getting the intent.
Believing that it's accurate.
Correct.
Yes, I agree, and I felt that it was accurate.
Last thing I wanted to talk about before we dive in is often films will have an opening quote to kind of guide you through or tell you what the film is about. Sometimes those work for me, sometimes they really do help guide me through. The opening quote for this one was 100% spot on, and I loved it, and it does, it subconsciously it puts you in the place that you need to be to understand what the film is going to then tell you, because the film is 100% what that quote is. It is that story.
Yes, yep, I totally agree.
And just for those of you that didn't catch it, the quote is, "The rush of battle is often a potent and lethal addiction, for war is a drug."
And then it highlighted war is a drug and pulled that out. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, diving in, the rest of this film is exactly an exploration of this through Jeremy's character. That is entirely what we see. He's not a good soldier. He doesn't follow orders. He goes off and does his own things. But it's all for the love of that moment. And I'm going to speak for him and say it's like the adrenaline rush of the moments and things. I don't know if that's true, but it kind of feels that way. But that is 100% what this movie is watching him go through and needing these experiences.
Well, and that's the thing, is because he does things that make you want to dislike him as a character, because they are risky and they are stupid and they are putting himself in danger and they're putting his unit in danger, and so you want to dislike him, but you also see that it is an addiction and that he needs it, and he needs to go forward, and so you give him a little bit of grace for that, because you also see that he does care about his men, and he does care, like when Eldridge is kind of breaking down, he gives him support. He cares about that little boy, and he loses his mind when he thinks that boy was exploited and turned into a bomb. So, like, there's good qualities to him, no doubt, but you really want to dislike him for what he's doing and can't.
Yep. And in fact, often, a couple times throughout the movie, he is rewarded and praised.
Oh yeah,
for being
David Morse, that role,
for doing exactly what he's doing, which of course pisses everybody around him off.
Yes.
But when somebody much higher up is like, I can't remember if he called him a hot dog or a show dog or something dog, wild dog or whatever it was. Like, when you get praised for that, and rather than being consistently scolded, there's no incentive to stop.
Exactly. And how awful too must it be to be in the position of having to follow the orders of somebody like that.
Yes.
That doesn't, it's interesting because throughout the movie until the end, until you're like, does he even value his own life?
Mm.
And you wonder, and then at the moment when he realizes he's got to run away from this guy, that he's not going to be able to take those last bolts off, you're like, okay, at least he does value his own life.
Yeah.
And he's not suicidal and he's not crazy. It is just that adrenaline rush.
And that scene in particular, I think, is so necessary because it
Yes.
does show you exactly that. Because
He has limits, he has boundaries.
Correct. Up until then, you are questioning, would he hang in there until the last second, just
Yeah.
hoping, and like you realize, no, he loves this, but he wants to, and I think ultimately it's kind of selfish, he wants to do it again.
Yeah, he does want to live, exactly. Jeremy Renner is amazing in this, and this obviously kind of made his career.
Yeah.
He became a household name because of this. But can we talk about Anthony Mackie for a minute?
Sure.
Because I don't think he gets the praise for his role in this as he does. You see his, first of all, when I first saw it, I didn't know Guy Pearce was in it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know Guy Pearce was in it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's because he's not going to be in it long, I bet.
No.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So I figured that out about 30 seconds before bad things happen to Guy Pearce, who I adore. But you see his like sadness and emotion that he has lost his friend who did everything right. They did everything right and he still died. And you see that sadness and emotion, and he wants to give this guy a chance. He wants to give Jeremy Renner a chance, and then he is so pissed off. Like the gamut of emotions you see him run from, I'm not ready to be a father, to I want to go home and have a son. You know, it's just, he to me, I think, walked away with the movie.
Anthony Mackie is often overlooked as a really talented actor because his early career was all playing, like, unfortunately, the stereotypical black roles of drug dealers or thugs or whatever. And then latter in his career, where he absolutely became a household name, was through the Marvel movies.
Of course, yeah.
But there's a whole section right before the Marvel movies where he did super quality work, and since Marvel has continued to do quality work.
Yep.
So he often gets overshadowed, so thank you very much for bringing him up, because he
Yep.
is amazing. A lot of it is just in his face.
Well, in his eyes too,
Yeah.
because you couldn't see that much of him sometimes.
And also, he's really good with the timbre of his voice. Being able to, like, when he's tense and angry, you can feel that in his voice. So he's amazing.
Yep, totally agree.
I don't have a lot to talk about with this because I think the movie accomplishes 100% what it set out to do. It was a singular story. We're watching and understanding this man becoming addicted to the situations that he is in and seeking them out.
Yep.
One of the examples of that, and I think even though it was super short, I'm glad it was, because I think like the, letting the man go scene, it reinforced it. The scenes where he's back home with his wife and child, less than 3 minutes of screen time.
Amazing.
Super short, but in those 3 minutes, you get exactly what it was, and it just reinforces everything you saw up until that moment. He's not happy here. He needs to be there doing these things.
Well, it's not even happy. Like, he is so uncomfortable in that cereal aisle. He is viscerally uncomfortable. And then you put him back in the explosion suit, and he's a dude.
Yep.
He is very, very comfortable. And I would be interested in your opinion on the conversation he has with his son about, there's only one thing I love. Because I don't think it's the son.
No.
Yeah, I think it's the adrenaline, I think it's the rush, I think it's the job that he does.
Yeah, and he's telling his son because his son is not going to understand this. He could
Exactly.
not tell this to his wife because
Right.
there would be a further conversation, and he would eventually most likely admit that, yeah, it's not you, it's this other thing, which is only going to hurt everybody.
Yeah. Well, she's already his ex-wife, so it's definitely not going to be good for the
Oh, that's right.
relationship.
I forgot that. I thought they were married, but they weren't.
No,
Okay,
it's,
no, you're right.
it's his ex, and they're just together because I think it's, probably too costly to live apart.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. That was the last
Yeah.
thing I wanted to mention, was that very brief scene of his being back in the States, because it just supports everything that you spent 2 hours watching.
Yeah. The one other thing I do want to say is about Bigelow and the direction and the camera work too, especially like there is just so much. You go from the long shots to the short shots to the kind of kites in the sky. There's a lot of the handheld. I didn't love as much of the handheld work, some of the shaky shots, but I think it all worked together. And when you look at how all of that came together and was cut together, it's a beautiful movie.
It really
really
is. Even some of the slow-mo shots when things are going off, like
Yeah.
when you see the dirt just kind of lift, or whatever was on the ground lift during moments. Like everything is building both the place and the emotional stakes of what you were watching Jeremy's character go through. Like We've talked about this a lot. Does everything support the story that's being sold?
Every moment does.
Everything in this film supports the story that is being told. The music, the acting, the obviously the story, the directing, all these little moments just reinforce. And they are little. They're not long takes of things to be like, oh, and by the way, remember, super emotional, super emotional, super emotional.
Yeah.
It's small little things throughout to just give you that tense kind of feeling all the way through. Yeah, it's brilliantly directed.
Yep, agree.
Okay, so we're gonna pause there. We're not gonna do our typical what do you think thus far because we have part 2 to record. We're gonna put these out part 1 and then part 2.
I was gonna ask, are we going to say of these 5, the best is, and then we compare it to the best of the other 5, or are we just gonna do the whole 10 next time?
I will leave that entirely up to you.
I would be interested in, of these top 5 movies, what one what goes to the semifinals? Let's do some brackets.
Okay.
Let's do some brackets. Okay, so here we have top 5.
Okay, I'm picking 1 or 2 from this.
I think just one,
Okay.
but you tell me.
I think 2 would be a little bit easier to build suspension.
All right, let's do it.
So the
Let's
2
build
that I would
suspense.
push into for the final 4 would be An Education and The Hurt Locker. Those would be the 2.
Those are my 2.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, so we will take these as the bracket winners, and then we'll carry them on for the next time.
All right. So there you go. Part 1, 2010-9 in the books. See ya.